Good morning. Good morning. My name is Julia Thompson, and I am the Director of Lifespan Learning here. I work with the kids at Neighborhood. And I have your announcements. Normally, Suzanne Azars would be doing the announcements, but she is directing our spirit choir at the Mississauga congregation, Unitarian Mississauga congregation. And that's why we have a whole chunk of people who are not here today. All right, so April here at Neighborhood. Sorry, there's a bit of ding, 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 ding going on. Just bear with us. The spirit choir rehearsals happen every Monday from 7 o'clock till 9 o'clock. I'm part of it, and it's just a wonderful way of being involved with Neighborhood, and it's so fun. And all voices are welcome. You don't have to read music, and you can speak to Suzanne. I am seeking volunteers to help out occasionally on Sunday mornings, so if you would be interested, you can speak to me. Would you like to be a greeter? We need greeters for once or twice a month to be the welcoming face of Neighborhood. And you can speak to Luann, who is not here, but when she comes back, she's with the choir, you can speak to her. And Hatha Yoga, is this with you, Christina? Yes, Christina's doing Hatha Yoga on Wednesday evenings from 7 till 9 right here. And the details of all these activities will be sent out with your email blast. We have the Neighborhood, our Neighborhood Gallery presents on March 31st to May 26th. You get to meet the artists today, and I will name them off, and you can maybe give us a wave so everybody knows who you are. We have Color Blots Creative. Yay! Okay, Chris Emmanuel. Yes. Amy Fitzgerald, and Peter Marmarick. Geraldine Marion. Okay. Megan McKnight. Ravinder Ruprai. No. And Naomi Terrell. Maybe they'll be there in a little while. They'll be here in a little while. Okay. And if we could have the next slide. So our annual general meeting here at Neighborhood happens April 28th after service in person. And if you're going to be joining us on Zoom, it's for information only, so there's no voting. Members who are unable to attend, please assign your vote to another member by completing a proxy form and send it to the attention of Steve Kohler, who is the board secretary. And he's not here either, he's with the choir. Prior to April 28th. So we are having a town hall meeting on April 14th after the service, that's next Sunday, in person and on Zoom, to discuss proposal updates to our bylaws. And you can come and learn about the Spiritual Life Committee and evolving governance model that necessitate updates to our bylaws. We're having a celebration of life for Sandy Rafos this Sunday at 1 p.m. and all are welcome. This coming Saturday. New board directors and a board president will be chosen by Neighborhood members at the annual general meeting on April 28th. To help build beloved community. The nominating committee is looking for candidates who will bring a collaborative spirit, a loving interest in Neighborhood's future, as well as a willingness to learn and grow in the role. And contact Moira McDonald or Laura Thomas, who are not here either, part of the choir. Ooh, that is very small. Neighborhood Caring Circle. The Caring Circle provides care. Ooh. You can speak to that. Wonderful. Yes.
The caring circle is very simple. It will be just people who volunteer to phone up somebody who's sick, who be there for somebody in loss, and to be there. I never miss Peter's signals. The caring circle is not something we've done in the past and we'll do again. Very simply, it's a way to reach out. You don't have to be a professional to do it. You just have to, and there will be training and sending cards, talking by phone, just to make sure that people in our community don't fall through the gaps. So you can speak to me about that.
We are having orientation sessions for potential new members, getting connected with Neighborhood today at 12:30 p.m. Learn about our activities, programs, and teams here at Neighborhood, and an overview of the process for becoming a member. And our next joining ritual is scheduled for Sunday, April 28th. Did you want to speak to that?
Thanks, Julia. We have an orientation session right at 12:30, and if you were able to come to the first session, great. If you hadn't, that's fine. We'll just kind of catch you up in this second session, so you know what you're getting into. Is Julia Lewis here? Not yet. Okay. We will meet in that room, and we'll talk about what it means to be new to you, NUUC.
Thank you, Pat. Love and Grief for Israel, Palestine, a sharing circle. This is an opportunity to gather as a community and share our deep love for humanity and grief for the suffering in Israel and Palestine. This will be a spiritual gathering, not a political one. It's co-facilitated by Bruce Lynn, Peter Marmerick, Suzanne Mazares, and Reverend Pat Trudeau on Thursday, April 25th from 7:30 till 9:30 at the Raffles Hall. Which is here, yes. Yeah, thank you. Our question to the community for today is, when do you feel connected to the earth? Our services are created by our staff and volunteers. Suzanne Mazares is our music director. Julia Thompson, I wonder who that is our lifespan learning director, me. Reverend Pat Trudeau is our contract minister. David Renzetti is our wonderful service weaver. Mark Tim is on the AV desk, and Joe Strykowski is on Zoom. And we thank our greeters, our money counters, our lifespan learning volunteers, and our kitchen fairies, for all of whom are named in the cappuccino room. We're so grateful to you. Next Sunday, our monthly theme right now is transformation. And next Sunday, April 14th, our message is in the city and on the land. Our speaker is Doug Anderson. Music is Suzanne and Friends. Service weaver is Allison Kabayama. And I'm doing the time for all ages. Thank you.
We welcome you to our Neighborhood Unitarian Universalist congregation. Thanks for joining us, whether you're here in person or virtually on Zoom. My name's Dave Renzetti, and I'll be your service weaver this morning. We start our services by creating sacred space, and we do this by doing an invocation, all of us together. Let us cast the circle of sacred space here. Let us cast the circle of a cherished space here, a space of safety, a place of forgiveness, a place of love. If we want the world to change, we must craft in our faiths and in ourselves seeds that grow a different kind of life, a life of graciousness, of creative intelligence, a place of life and spirit for ourselves. I ask Asa to come up and light our chalice. We light this chalice to remember, to light the fire within our own hearts. Our prelude today will be introduced by Andrew Donaldson, our guest musician.
Actually, I think you probably guessed that I'm not Suzanne, although I know Suzanne, she's a good friend. And thank you for welcoming me here. I saw that the monthly theme was on transformation, and I've been a musician for a long time, and music is something that transforms itself. There's a tune that goes like this. It comes from the 16th century. La 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 la. Do that with me. La 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 la. And it goes on. It was originally a love song that the words started, Mein Gemüt ist mir verwirret, which roughly translated means, I'm all mixed up. This all because of a gentle maid. I'm totally lost. I'm sighing and crying all the time. I'm almost in despair. That was the song. And then J.S. Bach in the 1600s did something common at the time. He used that tune, he smoothed it out so that he could play with the harmonies, and it became a hymn called Passion Chorale now, and the words began, O sacred head sore wounded, a Christian hymn. And then we're going to flash forward to 1949. A songwriter named Tom Glaser used the tune for a song about neighborliness and openness. It was called Because All Men Are Brothers. It was sung for a long time by peace activists, and the most famous being Peter, Paul, and Mary. They sang this song to that chorale tune, sort of transformed in many ways across the centuries. Then in 1973, Paul Simon began a tune like this. Mary's the times I've been mistaken, and many's the time confused. Yes, and I've often felt forsaken. Goes on. Same tune, transformed in another way. Now, let's see. I'll sing now a version. I don't think we want to sing Because All Men Are Brothers. There's nothing wrong with that in a sense, but it excludes more people than it allows in, as it were. So I wrote this version a while ago, and here's how it goes. We are one living family, and since the world began, you can join me as you like, a many-gendered family. Imagine if you can a world of kind compassion with none crushed to the ground, but each a friend and neighbor, the whole bright world around. When near or far I wander, I see you don't have the words. Oh, there we go. And find a neighbor's hand, we share the song of freedom. It's there, my promised land. When siblings' joys are my joy, their cry my saddest sound. Then lost my voice. Our word shall stand every soul unbound. Then we'll be friend and neighbor. We'll turn. Thank you for singing for me.
That was a wonderful story. I like that. For today's land recognition, I wanted to acknowledge not just the First Peoples that have traditionally lived in this area, but all the native peoples of North, South America, and the Caribbean. The education that I received, learning about the colonization of North America, had maps like these. The British arrived, the French arrived, the Spanish. Everything else was just empty, as if there was no one there. Second slide, please. Here is an oil painting. It's entitled, "Balboa Discovers the Pacific Ocean." I find it quite amazing that the Haida peoples, pictured here, had lived on this coast for thousands of years and hadn't apparently noticed this huge body of water beside them. This poster, which I have donated to Neighborhood and is now hung pretty much permanently on that wall back there. This map was created by Michael McCarty-Nakoma, an established and respected elder who has presented over 3,000 times on traditional pathways and ancient wisdoms. This map shows the vast and diverse array of the Western Hemisphere's true original peoples. I would ask that you please use it as a stepping stone to deeper understanding. And now, as we continue in sacred space, I'd like to formally welcome Melina Bondy, who will lead us in a meditation and through a Buddhist ritual. I'd also like to welcome again our special guest musician, Andrew Donaldson. Our children's story will be by Julia Thompson. Mark Tim is working our Zoom connection, and Joyce Tchaikovsky is helping with technology as well. We're open to many beliefs, and we draw on all traditions. We welcome any person who is seeking a spiritual community. If you're visiting us for the first time, during coffee time, feel free to take a red mug. We'll know that you're interested in talking to us about Neighborhood and sharing your story with us. Our services can be quite different week to week, so if you're getting a flavor for who we are, come to 2 or 3 to see if it's a good fit. Our mission at Neighborhood is empowering spiritual growth and shared action for the care of our world. Our theme for April is transformation. And today's theme specifically is touching the earth. I learned an important lesson about our profound need to touch the earth about 15 years ago or so. My wife, my 2 children, and I, we have an additional spiritual home in an alternative community in the countryside north of Toronto. It's called Unicamp. My children spent their childhood summers there at this amazing place. One year, we were so broke, we could not afford to go there. In fact, we didn't leave the city for the whole year. The following summer, when we were able to return, we drove up to our campsite, and my 2 children, I think they were around 7 and 9 at the time, they leaped out of the car. they ran into the forest, and each of them climbed as tall as they could into a 50-foot tree. And they just sat there for hours. We need nature. Now is the time to greet your neighbors. So after you have greeted a few neighbors here physically, please feel free to turn up to our audio-visual, our camera up there on the platform, with the light coming out of it, and you can wave to the people who are here virtually on Zoom. I'll sound the chimes just to indicate that the greeting period is over. So now, please take a moment and greet your neighbors.
Hi, Sigrid. Hi, Tony. Helen. Good morning, everyone. Lots of people are here today.
And God, recording stopped.
I see my friend over there. The congregation service there too. Oh, nice.
We have nothing to say.
It's a bright sunny day. I can't wait to go out.
Yeah, we have an echo here too, though.
Right?
The subway doors are now closing. And I'd like to throw it over to Andrew for our first song.
So we're going to take 2 runs at this song, right now and then a bit later on. I'm going to sing it for you, and I'm going to invite you to sort of echo each phrase back to me. I'm going to put it in a lower key than I originally did it in.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, there's always that interesting thing about we have a congregational spirit, and some sing higher than others, some sing lower than others, and so I'll be transposing as I go. Here's how it goes. I'll just do the first phrase. Go on your way, enjoy, my friends. So we go. Go on your way, enjoy, my friends. Beautiful. Then same thing up a bit. Go on your way, enjoy, my friends. Go on your way, enjoy, my friends. Next phrase, same as the first. Go on your way, enjoy, my friends. We do that one. Go on your way, enjoy, my friends. Let your left foot say glory and your right say amen. I'll do that one again. Let your left foot say glory and your right say amen. We go. Let your left foot say glory and your right say amen. Lovely. I'm going to go to the other mic. Because, let me see, F sharp. There's lint in here, I'm sure. There we go. So, let's do the whole thing, and if you fall away at different parts, just listen to your neighbor, or anyway, we go. Go on your way, enjoy, my friends. Go on your way, enjoy, my friends. Go on your way, enjoy, my friends. Let your left foot say glory and your right say amen. Go on your way, enjoy, my friends. Go on your way, enjoy, my friends. Go on your way, enjoy, my friends. Let your left foot say glory and your right say. Please stand. Go on your way, enjoy, my friends. 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 Let your left foot say glory and your right say amen. Let your left foot say glory and your right say amen. Let your left foot say glory and your right say amen.
All right, this is the time for all ages, and I would like to welcome any kids who would like to join us. Thank you. And today I have to thank Asa for helping me out with the kids. Thanks so much. I definitely appreciate you. This story, I had fun working on this story, and it's called The Paper Garden. Once upon a time, there was a lady who had a large garden and a pond. She liked the idea of having a large garden and a pond, but she had never spent time in it. Her gardeners took care of it for her. But one spring day, a little bit like today, the lady decided to go out and spend time in her garden. She sat down on a bench next to her pond and marveled at how the water looked as smooth as a sheet of glass. But just as she was admiring her pond, the wind came by. It blew over the pond, of all things, and it ruffled the pond. "Stop!" cried the lady to the wind. "You're ruffling my pond." But the wind didn't pay any attention. So the lady called her gardeners and asked them to put up a wall all around to block out the wind. Now, even though the lady had been upset by the wind, she decided to go out again because she had actually really enjoyed her first trip out into her garden. And as before, she sat on the bench next to her pond, admiring her pond again. But just then, a cloud came over and blocked the sun. And then, of all things, the rain started to fall, pitter-patter, on her perfect pond. And where the drops fell on the pond, a circle of ripples appeared. "Stop!" cried the lady to the rain. "You are rippling my pond." But the rain paid no attention, continued to pitter-pat upon her pond. So the lady called back her gardeners and asked them to build a roof over her pond, over the whole garden, so that the rain couldn't get in. Now, there was only one problem with, well, there were a whole bunch of problems with this, but what is the one major problem that you can see leaping in front of you? Yeah, you're getting there. Yes. Yes, thank you, Jamal. Exactly. And it was as dark as night. And the gardeners were so worried. They thought the lady would be upset, so they thought, okay, what are we going to do? And then they thought, okay, we're going to get a glow-in-the-dark sun and attach it to the ceiling, the roof, so that the pond will be lit up. And that is what they did. And the lady was, now when the lady sat beside her pond, no wind could ripple it and no rain could ruffle it. And, but she actually didn't feel any joy for some strange reason. And she decided not to go out to visit her garden for a while. During this time, all was not well in her garden. Without the sun or the rain, the trees began to lose their leaves. Leaf after leaf fluttered to the ground, and the flowers began to shrivel. One by one, they hung their heads and died. Yeah, you said it. You predicted the future here. The worried gardeners quickly got to work. They brought a whole bunch of paper flowers and paper leaves. They stuck the paper flowers into the earth. They stuck the paper leaves into the trees. And they hoped, fingers crossed, that when the lady decided to come back, that she wouldn't get too close. Because from a distance, it looked pretty convincing. It looked pretty real. But even then, their problems were not finished, because without the rain, what happened to the water? It like began to evaporate, right? And every day the pond shrank more and more. And the gardeners thought, okay, what are we going to do now to fix this problem? So they got a big sheet of glass and put it over the pond, hoping that the lady might think that it was like water, because she had thought the pond looked like a sheet of glass before. So sometime later, the lady came back to give her garden another try. And she stood there on one of her paths, and she seemed to be thinking very deeply about something, as though she was trying to remember something. And then she went over to one of the flowers, and she stuck her nose right inside the flower, the paper flower, and sniffed. Oh. Now, the thing is, the paper garden had been there for a while, and a fine dust had settled on everything. And when the lady put her nose into the flower, she sniffed a whole bunch of dust. So the lady went, ah, ah. The gardeners froze. Oh no, disaster. Again, ah, ah. A sneeze was coming, and it was no ordinary sneeze. It was not a ladylike sneeze. Suddenly, everything in the garden changed. The paper leaves and flowers with this humongous sneeze just kind of exploded. They blew up in the air, and then they fluttered to the ground. And if a garden could look sad, this is how this garden looked. The gardeners felt so sad too. And they had not wanted to do this. They had not wanted to carry out this lady's orders. They knew that it was killing the garden. But they wanted to keep their jobs. But this was too much for them. We quit, they said. The lady stood there looking at her garden, at her dead garden. A strange feeling was creeping over her. She turned to the gardeners and said in a trembling voice, "Before you go, can you please take this sheet of glass away and this fake sun and just tear down the walls and the roof?" The gardeners stared at her in surprise. And then everybody got to work. And soon it was all reduced to a pile of rubble and a dead garden. The lady was left alone. She felt hollow and weak inside. And she threw herself down on the earth, and she started to cry. And she stayed there for a long time with her body pressed against the earth. She could feel its coolness. She could smell the earthy, musky smell of the earth. And then something happened to her. Bit by bit, she began to feel a new calmness and an energy and a sense of purpose flowing through her. And in the days, months, and weeks that followed, the garden, the plants and flowers and trees began to flourish under her care. And the wind was welcome, and the rain came and filled the hollowness of where the pond had once been, and new life returned to the pond, because all the life had been had just died with this sheet of glass and no light. And the gardeners returned and to work with her instead of for her. And together they started a community that grew. It was a loving and caring community that came together to care for the earth and to connect with the earth and with each other. The end. Thank you.
Children grow in the Spirit. Children grow in the Spirit. Grow in the Spirit, children. Grow in the Spirit, children.
It's now time to introduce Melina.
Hi, folks. For those who don't know me, my name is Melina Bondy. Pronouns are they, them. I live around the corner, which is lovely, although I met a lot of folks when I used to work as the summer camp director at Unicamp a long time ago. And then I was the program coordinator in Guelph for the Unitarian congregation, so I have this Unitarian background. And then I took off to Plum Village in France and became a Buddhist monastic with Thich Nhat Hanh for a number of years, and then left. And now I'm in Toronto and a psychotherapist, but I bring all these different permutations of myself into this space. So I'm going to be talking today and sharing a practice that was really central for me in the Plum Village tradition. But I want to start with a reading from Thich Nhat Hanh, a Vietnamese Zen master, peace activist, and just a really precious ancestor who passed away a few years ago at the age of 95. At this very moment, the earth is above you, below you, all around you, and even inside you. The earth is everywhere. The planet we are living on has given us all the elements that make up our bodies. The water in our flesh, our bones, and all the cells inside come from the earth and are part of the earth. If we see the earth as just the environment around us, we experience ourselves and the earth as separate. We see the earth in terms of what it can do for us. So we need to recognize that the planet and the people on it are ultimately one and the same. And we need to fall completely in love with the earth if the earth is to survive and if we are to survive. So with this month's theme of being spiritually grounded in transformation, I was reflecting on what has been transformative for me in my spiritually grounded life. And there's a practice in the Plum Village tradition that we call touching the earth that has been one of the most transformative things. And so I wanted to not just talk about it, but share at least a piece of it today. So I'll explain it a little bit, and then we'll do a longer guided meditative practice. And then I'll share a little bit more to close up. So it's a little different format that we're used to, but I'm sure that everyone will do just fine. Maybe we'll tell the slides now, if that's okay. Yeah, so you probably have seen some variation of prostrations in any different set of traditions. In this Plum Village tradition of Buddhism, we really get in, prostrations have kind of been like reinvented. And one version is a way to get in touch with our ancestors in ourselves and to get in touch with the land. So I'm going to share this version, but I just want to give you a little bit of a context. So if we can get the next slide. In the Southern school, or the Orthodox school called Theravada, that exists in Burma and Sri Lanka and Thailand, prostrations usually happen from kneeling and then bowing onto the ground, done 3 times before and after just about anything. The next slide, please. In the Northern school, so Mahayana Buddhism that you would find in China, Vietnam, Japan, Korea, we start from standing, and this is the tradition that I was part of, so we would always do something like that at the beginning and end of just about anything and multiple times throughout ceremonies. Next slide. And so this is actually the photo of my full ordination ceremony when I was at Plum Village, where there's a time where the whole community does these prostrations and different, phrases and intentions are read out. Next slide, please. And then in the Tibetan tradition, it starts from standing and going all the way down onto the belly on the earth. So some of you may have also seen variations of this. Is that all for the slides, or is there anything else? Oh yeah, and some even do pilgrimages, 3 steps and then a bow. So months of prostrations around holy mountains. And so prostrations are really, really important in all different types of Buddhist traditions. And I think this is now the end of the slides. Yeah. But it's also, it's very connected to the Salat in Islam. Christians kneel to pray. There's all sorts of ways that people use their bodies in contemplative practice, and I think that's the most important part of what I want to be touching upon here. With prostrations, it's easy to think that this is about bowing yourself to something out there in sort of obeisance or submission. And I know a lot of folks, I know a lot of folks, especially in Unitarian congregations, who are pretty averse to anything like this. So I thought, why don't I share about it today? Because I like to poke and prod, but also because there's a whole different way of doing it that has nothing to do with what we think it might be about. So in my tradition, and in most Buddhist traditions, there's an understanding that even if you are bowing to a Buddhist statue, to a teacher, that whatever they symbolize is also present in ourselves. And so we take these gestures to help remind ourselves that whatever we value outside of us is also within us, but to not just think about it, to actually do something that strengthens this sense. And so one way of doing these bows that I have found, as I said, the most transformative is as a way to get in touch with our ancestors. And so there's a particular practice that we would spend a half hour to an hour doing. And on my first time that I did a 3-month stay in the monastery, before I was a monastic, a group of us got together every day for, I think it was 3 weeks, and did this hour-long practice of these types of prostrations. And at first it was really dry, and then it was really difficult, and then it was exciting, and then it's different every time. And so I'm going to share a little bit of this practice in just a minute, and know that it may land, it may not land, but it is the type of thing, like any spiritual practice, that is most helpful when we try it a bunch of times, because it will be different every time. But it gives us this chance to explore and find different parts of ourselves and different ways to relate with the world. So I'm going to give a brief explanation. I'll guide us through it, and then make some connections to other ways of connecting to the earth. Does that sound okay?
Yes.
Okay. So if anyone wants to try full prostrations, you're very welcome to. And we don't necessarily have the cleanest floor or mats and cushions for everybody here. So I'm assuming that not many people will actually want to do the bow. But if you would like to, this practice has 2 postures, an upright posture and a bowing posture. So you could start standing, and excellent. And then when I say, okay, touch the earth or bow and sound the bell, then you can either go down to what is basically a child's pose, or you can have your full belly lying flat out on the ground. Some people really love that posture. And then if you want to stay in your chairs, you could either stand during the upright part or just have a posture where you can really feel the strength and dignity of your spine and your head is a little bit uplifted, and maybe your hands come to your heart, or we do it usually like this, or really anything that gets you into this strong posture. And then for the on the earth posture, anything that lets you bow your head, you could even rest your head on the chair in front of you. You could just bow it, and then whether you're on the ground or in a chair, your palms are open as a way of symbolizing letting go. And part of why I love this practice is that we need both. We need our strength and dignity, and we also need to be able to be flexible and to let go. And so it's physically practicing this. Okay, so take your posture, get yourselves ready. Like I said, I'm going to guide this for about 8 minutes. Oh, amazing. And you may just be listening. You don't have to do it, but there's also not much to do. So you're totally, totally welcome to engage in this however you want, however you don't want. You can change the words in your head if better words fit for you than what I'm using. There's nothing orthodox about this. It's very, very adaptable. So in the upright posture, finding some sort of strength in the body, something upright. I like with my hands over my heart. It's a chance to first get in touch with the strength and the gifts that have been passed down by our familial ancestors, the ones we've known, the ones we don't know. I mean, we don't know specifics, but if we have bodies that are breathing, we have received these from thousands of years of familial genetic ancestors. We also have the gifts of song or intellect, or maybe someone taught us to be patient. These are all gifts of our familial genetic ancestors. So just going to take 3 breaths. See if you can feel some of that strength inside this body, this lifespan that's also connected to what came before. And then let yourself shift to the surrender or the letting go posture, the head bowed or bowing down to the earth. I normally would take a lot longer for this, but we're still touching in briefly. In this posture, we get to get in touch with recognition that there are wounds, there are illnesses, there are traumas that we live with that we did not create. They were passed down to us. We do not need to carry every single challenge we face in ourselves personally, but recognize, wow, yeah, I was conditioned by a long line of people who raged, or who brutalized, or who were traumatized. And it's hard to carry that, but it's different to know that it's not our personal problem. So for the next 3 breaths or so, we could just be in recognition, or at least exploring the possibility of recognizing which wounds have been passed down to us. And if any of them are ready to be maybe released, we can just release them into the earth, release them through these open palms. But we don't have to force anything. We're just experimenting. We return to a neutral posture. And this in-between span of being made up of the gifts and the wounds transmitted by our families, and we are more than this. We'll go through the same cycle, but this time with our cultural ancestors, the peoples that we are part of, the ethnic groups, the actual cultures where we have lived geographically. Sometimes we call these our land ancestors, all the people who have tended the lands that we live upon and have lived upon. So this is a complex group to consider, and we're doing this briefly, but no matter who and where we are from and lived, there are gifts we have received, there are strengths we have received. The activists and the hospital builders and the educators and so many aspects of our cultural ancestors have shaped and strengthened us, and we have received these capacities. So taking a few breaths to see if we can find some of the strength in the upright posture. Just recognizing how much we have received. And then we shift to the releasing posture, maybe sitting down or bowing down. Just the simple bowing of the head, if you want to try it, palms open. All of our cultural ancestors have had some combination of perpetuating harm and being victims of harm, systemically, culturally, interpersonally. There are wounds and shortcomings that we see in ourselves that are not personal, that have been received, transmitted. We can work to transform them, but we don't have to carry them as just my personal problem. And sometimes just letting the earth hold us in the complexity and the gravitas opens the way to a different possibility of action than just me, myself, trying to figure it out and white knuckle through or numb out. So if there's anything ready to be released from our cultural ancestors, you can see if the earth is ready to receive it and transform it. Especially if you're down on the ground, take your time because to come back up to neutral, because sometimes blood pressure leaves us a little woozy. You may also want to have your upright posture be on the ground, so it's easy to get back and forth. You can play with this. So we do this one more time with our spiritual ancestors. The religious traditions that our peoples have carried. The friend who passed a book to us that changed our life. These are all our spiritual ancestors. And so we get in touch with the strength in this upright posture of, wow. I mean, if we're here, we've got spiritual ancestors. And there are also the teachings that strengthen the people who came before us. They may be different from what we practice now, but the fact that strength was passed down, and joy, and reverence, and worship and belonging was passed down. Even if we don't know how, we are recipients. We are stronger and better for it, even if we don't know how. And we can tune into this in our bodies, in our very selves, through this upright posture, just opening to, even if we don't know how. This whole ancestry that goes back millions of years, back to before there were humans, back to the zooplankton in the oceans, back to the stars. They were all our ancestors. We can tap into this lineage, this transmission. And really slowly, as you're ready, if you wish, one more time into the releasing posture. Yeah. We also know that, especially through religious institutions, there has been so much harm, so many wounds, so many ways that liberatory, beautiful teachings have been twisted to hurt and exclude, to demonize, to dehumanize. And we bear some of those wounds ourselves. It is our opportunity to transform them, but not our responsibility to hold them as personal and separate. And it's also okay to grieve and mourn. Sometimes we need the releasing posture to just make a little more space for the sadness that gets stuck, for all that has been transmitted that is so, so harmful. We don't need to ignore it. Taking a few more breaths, if there's anything to release from our spiritual and religious ancestors. Slowly, when you're ready, coming back to a neutral posture. And just notice what it's like for you to have tried this. There's a natural titration of not just being in touch with the gifts, not just in touch with the wounds, but back and forth, making space for everything, being in movement, and doing a physical contemplation, not just with the mind. So if you're elsewhere and you want to return to a seat, you're welcome to do that. You can also stay and chill out on the floor for a bit if that feels good. So I'm just going to say a little bit more, but we're going to wrap up really quickly that this is also about getting our bodies onto the earth, which is wisdom that so many people know and speak of, especially in indigenous wisdom traditions of the earth, the land is where we can find all the healing, all the wisdom that we need if we actually spend time and attend and listen and tune in. And for me, that this practice helped me get in touch, actually put my body on the ground. I do this sometimes outside or just lying on my back, lying on my belly. There's so many ways to play with this. And if you're moved, you could even go to the recording and do this a few different times, pause it, do it for longer, do it for shorter, play with the words. It's very adaptable and flexible. And a few, it's actually Donna Adewere, a Maori educator and activist who I learned the phrase, not personally, in a book, the pathology of placelessness. How when we don't have a sense of place, then it's easy to exploit the world and exploit other human beings, and that is actually is a sickness to not be connected to place. So anything that we can do to actually know that our bodies belong to the greater earth that we are all a part of is so essential, not just for the inner sense of isolation and alienation and all the inner wounds that we carry, but also as members of this earth, human and beyond human family that we are part of, and there's so much that needs help and so much that needs care. But if we do it from urgency and fear and anxiety, then our actions are just going to produce more fear and urgency and anxiety. But if we can find ways to get us in touch with oh yeah, I'm carrying the strength from the stars. Okay, what can I do today? We're going to have different actions, and I trust that that's the medicine that we need. So thank you for practicing and exploring and listening.
Thank you, Melina. I really enjoyed the explanations behind that. I got the order of service a little bit out of order, And I'd like to call on Andrew to sing us he's got a simple gift for us. So Mark might have to catch up on the slides a bit.
You're welcome to sit or stand in body or spirit, for it is a gift to be simple. Tis a gift to be simple, tis a gift to be free, tis a gift to come down where we ought to be. And when we find ourselves in the place just right, we'll be in the valley of love and delight. When true simplicity is gained, to bow and to bend we shan't be ashamed. To turn will be our delight, till by turning, turning we come round right.
Thank you for that, Andrew. Now is the time for our offertory. Sharing of ourselves is part of every faith group. Members of Neighborhood choose a variety of ways to give, either through offerings in the baskets, pre-dated checks, e-transfers, and automatic withdrawals. If you are online, please use the link that's displayed on the screen, which leads you to our donation page on our website. In all ways, I ask you to be generous. Greeters, please pass the baskets around, and when there's money collected, we will pause, and now Andrew will play a bit for us. The greeters can bring the baskets forward. If you have found love and acceptance here, if you found home here, if you found kindred spirits here, let this offering be a token of gratitude for our common life as we build the common good. And our final song.
Go on your way, enjoy, my friends. Go on your way, enjoy, my friends. You may stand if you like. Go on your way, enjoy, my friend. Let your left foot say glory and your right say amen. Go on your way, enjoy, my friends. Go on your way, enjoy, my friends. Go on your way, enjoy, my friend. Let your left foot say glory and your right say amen. Let your left foot say glory and your right say amen. Let your left foot say glory and your right say amen.
I invite Asa to extinguish our chalice.
although the chalice, although our chalice has been darkened, within our own hearts.
Now, if you'd like to take your neighbor's hand or touch their shoulder, form a circle and connect physically as we have connected here spiritually today. Today I'll leave you with this short reading. It was simply ascribed to Mother Earth. Every now and again, we must take a good look at something that is not made by human hands. A mountain, a star, a tree. There will come to you a wisdom, a solace, and above all, the assurance that you are not alone in this world. Our service has ended, but our service to each other never ends. Go in peace.